The United Progressive Party loses a key candidate ahead of the May 24 general election. That's the story you're tracking in your Barbados Day afternoon news update for Tuesday, May 3. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kamar Jordan. Incumbent Christchurch West MP Dr. Maria Agard is out of the 2018 election race. Word of this from UPP leader Lynette Eastman, as UPP candidates paid their $250 deposits at the Treasury this morning. Ms. Eastman told reporters that Dr. Agard, who joined the party back in February after being booted out of the main opposition Barbados Labour Party back in November 2015, was forced to bow out of the race to attend to an urgent personal matter.
She has an appointment, another consultation, and she had delayed that appointment until May 23rd in anticipation that elections would have been called soon after the dissolution of Parliament. But that did not happen, so she imagined that by the 23rd everything would have been over. She has to meet that appointment because she's already rescheduled. As you probably know, in the United States, when you reschedule appointments, there's a possibility of penalties, and you know, the professionals that are involved, they're not going to just continue to reschedule appointments. So she has had to withdraw her candidacy.
The UPP leader said, however, that Dr. Agard remains a full member of the party and will continue to appear on its platforms until she leaves the country. Eastman said no one had been identified to replace Dr. Agard in Christchurch West, but she hinted that this could change by nomination day on Monday. In the meantime, she says the party remains confident of its chances at the polls.
We're feeling very confident this morning. As you know, this is the beginning of another part of the journey that we've been on, that we started about a year and a half ago. And we've put in a lot of work, and this, I guess, is one of the high points of that journey. Our mission really is to bring an alternative to Barbadians, which they've been asking for.
Just before the UPP arrived at Country Road this morning, Finance Minister Chris Sinckler led members of the Democratic Labour Party's St. Michael North team to the Treasury. That business aside, the Finance Minister was pressed by reporters to respond to the grim economic report delivered by the Central Bank Governor, Cleviston Haynes, yesterday. Mr. Sinckler said it's not all doom and gloom. Though he admitted that the economy was still not firing on all cylinders, he said there were some improvements, pointing to a slight increase in the foreign reserves, which grew by $14 million to reach 6.9 weeks of import cover.
If you read the report very carefully, you will see that the reserves actually have the decline, or the slide has stopped, and that the reserves for the first quarter of this year have increased. Now the governor made the point that net $14 million. Now the governor made the point that it was less robust because we had more foreign debt services to pay. Now if your trend line is going up, you can't say that you're worse. You have to say that it is getting better. What the governor of the central bank has said is that we're not where we need to be, which is true. But the slide, which we saw coming towards the end of last year, has been halted.
Mr. Sinckler also dismissed concerns about the central bank's plan to turn to the private sector for help to bail out the ailing economy. The central bank governor said yesterday they had begun discussions with the private sector to secure between 60 to 70 million US dollars to shore up the island's dwindling foreign reserves.
Given some of the delays in the sale of some of the assets, given the impact of things such as Brexit, fall of the British pound, in and on the foreign exchange earning of Barbados, that it has given notice to some private sector and public sector that if necessary, it may ask them to repatriate some of Barbados's reserves that are being held in foreign jurisdictions. That is normal practice.
But not so fast, Mr. Finance Minister. The BLP says Barbados' continued economic slide clearly outlined the central bank's report is even more evidence of the failed policies of the Friendo Stewart-led administration. At a BLP press conference this morning, General Secretary Jerome Walcott charged that the DLP was plunging Barbados deeper into the abyss of despair.
At last week's news conference, I told you the economy was the #1 issue for Team BLP in this campaign. The latest economic report presented by the central bank governor yesterday is but another reminder of why the Dems are desperately seeking to avoid serious discussion on the economy. Frundle Stewart and Chris Sinckler's policy prescriptions are not working. They are plunging Barbados deeper and deeper into the abyss of gloom and despair. We heard from the central bank governor yesterday of a major setback for the economy. It has re-entered the realm of decline. Our economy has contracted by almost 1% in the first quarter of this year. Historically, the first quarter is government's highest revenue earning period. Unemployment has gone up. Prices have soared because of the ill-advised NSRL. The foreign reserve situation remains grim, so much so that the Dems are now asking the private sector, whose advice they largely ignored, to come to the rescue by supplying foreign exchange.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
One night, one winner, only one team can deliver. Balance, comprehensive, unrivaled coverage. Barbados Today, Capital Media HD 99.3, and 6 Gear Studios. Don't miss election night on www.facebook.com/Barbados Today, on www.barbadostoday.bb, live on www.capitalmediahd.com, and on www.facebook.com/Capital Media HD.
On the regional scene, the St. Lucia economy is under the microscope. Officials of the International Monetary Fund are in Castries meeting with representatives of the Department of Finance, the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, and the Caribbean Development Bank to assess the island's economic challenges. Minister in the Ministry of Finance, Dr. Eubaldus Raymond, told reporters the IMF team is concerned about the island's high debt.
It's a serious concern not only in St. Lucia but throughout the entire Caribbean. The Caribbean being one of the, in fact, the region with the highest debt levels. So they always focus on the impact of our policies on our debt levels. The indicator they tend to look at is that of the debt to revenue, debt to GDP ratio. As of last year, we had a debt to GDP ratio of about 79%, but with the rebasing, the debt to GDP ratio is about 67%.
Further afield in India, at least 95 people have been killed and scores more injured in fierce dust storms that hit the northern Indian states of Uttar Pradesh and Rajasthan. The storms disrupted electricity, uprooted trees, destroyed houses, and killed livestock. Many of the dead were sleeping when their houses collapsed after being struck by intense bursts of lightning. Officials say dust storms are common in this part of India during the summer, but the loss of life is unusual and devastating. And on that very sad note, we end our afternoon news update, but there's more online at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper email updates, or you can like us on Facebook. And also, you can sign up for breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals and Screenplay in a supermarket or a gas station near you. Also, check us out on Mix 96.9 FM. I'm Kamar Jordan. Have a fabulous afternoon, and be sure to be back here at 6 p.m. for our next update.